Hey everybody, welcome to the GMG review. Today we're taking a look at Warhammer Battletome Slaves to Darkness. The big boys, the Chaos, the baddies. They have their new army box coming out, and of course it contains the limited edition new Battletome, and this was kindly sent as a advanced preview copy to me by Games Workshop. And now we get to check it out. So, what do we got here? Well, as per usual, I've gone through and tried to highlight all of the major changes in this book. It is a lot more of a retooling to 3rd edition than the last couple books I've done, even compared to the Ogre book that I also reviewed today. The big sort of primary thrust is, of course, all the usual stuff seen in a 3rd edition Battletome, which is to change up the formatting, to add in things like the new allegiance abilities, new grand strategies, and of course tactics to play over the course of the turn. But this one also really sort of drastically restructures the army. In particular, adding in an absolute metric ton of battle line. In fact, I think this book has the most native, don't need to unlock it with some kind of special general battle line, maybe in the game. The Gloomspike Gits are the only ones that give them a run for their money, but look at this. We got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17 battle line choices. And then you can unlock additional battle line choices, 18, 19 if you use certain other sort of sub-factions inside the army. So it's a lot. You can do a mixed army with Be'lakor leading it. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff in here. And it feels a lot more like, hey, look, the Chaos guys are the big bad threat in the Mortal Realms. With that sort of possibility. So let's jump in. What's been going on in the 8 points? Of course, Archaon's not very happy with all the ground he's lost when it comes to fighting against the forces of death, the forces of order, and the force of destruction. There's been a necroquake that's kind of upset his plans. The Stormcast came back. Like, you gotta understand, he was ruling the mortal realms for quite a while, and now he's back in sort of like a defensive posture, and so he's marshaling his legions to sally forth and try and take back the Mortal Realms. That's what this guy's here to do, this new character model, who is kind of the newest of the miniatures in here. So let's jump in. Compared to the last book, yeah, everything's kind of shiny and new. I'm going to focus on the new stuff and the changes. Of course, I'm going to have missed things. I haven't had a chance to play with the book yet. But boy howdy, does some units get an upgrade and some focuses change. So let's talk about the marks. First of all, the marks apply to the Mortal and Ogroid Slaves to Darkness undivided units, if they're going to be undivided. That are not unique, and they gain the Eye of the Gods keyword. When a Slaves to Darkness undivided hero rolls an Eye of the Gods, you can reroll any one of the 2 dice, which is pretty amazing. You can get all kinds of cool stuff. In addition, undivided Slaves to Darkness heroes can issue the following command. So everybody gets basically an ability and a command. In the undivided one, you get to roll on the Eye of the Gods if you're not unique. And when you roll, you can roll an additional die or re-roll any one die, which is re-rolling a dice is almost better ultimately than rolling an extra dice and picking the one you want. And the command basically, the format's the same for all of these. So you get a ability plus a command that you can issue. So this one, Slay the Worthy Foes. You can use this command ability at the start of the combat phase. A friendly undivided Slaves to Darkness unit must receive this command. Until the end of the phase, add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made by melee weapons if they target a hero and a monster. So if you're fighting big things, +1 to wound. Mark of Khorne, +1 to your attacks if you are a Khorne Slaves to Darkness unit and you charge in the same turn for all your melee weapons. So all your melee weapons get +1 attack. In addition, your heroes can issue the following command: Let the Blood Flow. Use this command at the start of the charge phase. A friendly Khorne Slaves to Darkness unit must receive this command, and after they make a charge move, pick an enemy within 1 and roll a 2+, do D3 mortal wounds. You get impact hits, basically. Mark of Tzeentch, you can roll a dice each time a spell targets a friendly Slaves to Darkness unit. That's Tzeentch. On a 6, it has no effect. And then your wizards know the following extra spell: Warp Reality. It's a teleport, casts on 6, range 9 inches, unit completely inside, can move anywhere in the battlefield outside 9 of the enemy. It's actually one of the old spells from the primary lore, tacked on now as an ability for Tzeentch units. For Nurgle, you're -1 to wound with melee weapons against all Nurgle units in melee for Slaves to Darkness Nurgle. And their heroes have the following command ability. You can use this command ability at the start of the combat phase. A friendly Nurgle Slaves to Darkness unit must receive it. After this unit fights for the first time, roll a dice for every enemy unit within 3 on a 3+ and take D3 mortal wounds. Was just a better ability than the charge ability for Khorne. I guess the charge ability for Khorne could stop someone from fighting back, but this is every unit within 3. That's a bananas ability. And then Marcus Slaanesh, add 1 to run and charge rolls for Slaanesh Slaves to Darkness units. In addition, their hero can issue the following command: close in for the kill. Use this command at the start of the charge phase. A friendly Slaanesh Slaves to Darkness unit must receive it, and the unit can run and still charge later on. So a run and charge command, you explode command, an impact hits command, and a +1 to wound heroes and monsters command. I think the Nurgle one kind of wins in that race. And then Eye of the Gods table. At the end of every phase, for each enemy hero or monster destroyed by a friendly Slaves to Darkness unit with the Eye of the Gods keyword, and that's all of your Mortal and Slaves to Darkness undivided units if you're undivided, which is almost a reason to do it. You roll on the table, make 1 roll, and apply the following effects. In addition, if you gain control of an objective previously controlled by your opponent, make a roll for them as well. And then when rolling on the Eye of the Gods table, roll 2d6 for Slaves to Darkness heroes. For all other, roll 1d6 and add 2 to the score. So basically, your units can't go to Dark Apotheosis. The highest they'll get is Slaughter's Strength. They won't become wizards or get a 5+ ward. On a 2, you turn to a spawn. On a 3, the hero's slain, and you become a spawn. But you add, your unit can't have it happen to them because the lowest they can roll is a 3. 3 is snubbed, nothing happens. 4 is mutative growth, heal D3 wounds. Otherwise, if you already are unwounded, you go to snubbed. 5, Flames of Chaos, ignore the next spell it targets you on a 2+, and then it expires. 6, Unearthly Reflexes, +1 to charge rolls for the rest of the battle. 7, 6+ ward for the rest of the battle. 8, +1 rend for the rest of the battle. And then for your melee weapons. And then Arcane Awakening, become a wizard at level 1 or know an extra spell. Or if Chaos 5+ ward, Dark Apotheosis, you can choose any result on the table or turn into a Demon Prince if you want, with all your items and command traits and stuff too. So Eye is pretty cool. You can choose one of the 6 legions. It's basically the original 4 plus the 2 ones that were in expansion books. So you can be House the Everchosen or Legion of the First Prince from the other books, the campaign books. Or you can be Despoilers, Kabbalists, Ravagers, and Knights of the Empty Throne. You can also take vows. The vows of darkness are heroic actions you can do with your Slaves to Darkness heroes. The first one is pledge to the dark gods. And until the end of the turn, each time you roll an Eye of the Gods, roll 3 dice instead of 2 and pick any 2 of the dice that you score. So if you know that you're going to kill something that'll get you to roll on the table, basically lets you roll 3 dice and pick the one you want. And then draw into power, pick a friendly wizard until the end of the turn. When making casting rolls, roll 3 dice instead of 2. However, if the unmodified roll of 2 of the dice is a 1, you take D6 mortals instead of D3. Because you soak up the power of the warp. All right, again, I really like that there's kind of like a random number of effects on all of these other things here. It's not always tied to 6 anymore. They're just choosing to do the ones they want to do. I like they're not trying to fill a table anymore. So enhancements, command traits, there's 5 of them, 4 of them. The first one's Death Dealer, once per battle in the combat phase. After you fought for the first time, you can just choose to deal death. You strike last, but can you fight again? Favorite of the Pantheon, Eye of the Gods hero only. After deployment, you can roll once on the table. Arch Sorcerer, know all the spells from the Lord of the Damned. And Idolator Lord, you become a priest. In addition, you can choose to replace the undivided keyword with the undivided cultist keyword. Replace the undivided keyword on every undivided cultist unit in your army with one of the following: Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, or Slaanesh. And then all of the cultist units must be given the same keyword. I really like that one because it means all your cult units that are now battle line can become themed to one of the gods because they don't get to pick. And then aspects of the Ascendants. This is your Demon Princes, and there's a cool new Demon Prince model, so of course they get their own table. Not to be denied in each hero phase, once you've carried out a heroic action. If you did not carry out a heroic action with this general, you can carry out an additional one. The heroic action carried out with this general cannot be the same as the other one that's already been done. Bolstered by Chaos, +2 wounds, and you become a monster. Radiance of Dark, so it means you can do monstrous rampages. Radiance of Dark Glory. At the start of your hero phase, roll a dice for each friendly model within 9 of the general. On a 3+, heal a wound. If the model being rolled for is a monster, on a 3+, heal 3 wounds instead. Basically, you invigorate things around you. And then Diabolic Majesty, undivided only. Once per battle, when you carry out a heroic action with this general, you can carry out any one of the heroic actions on its war scroll, even if it does not have the required keywords to do. So you can just do it with anybody. So you get 4 different heroic actions that the Demon Prince can do. If you're undivided, you can just do all 4 instead of doing your undivided one, which is pretty cool. It just unlocks all of them. All right, artifacts. Hellfire Sword. It does on a 6 to hit mortal wounds, but now it's equal to the damage characteristic of the weapon, which is a really nice one for your mortal heroes. Your Helm of the Oppressor. You can't use Inspiring Presence or Rally within 6 of him. And Crown of the Conqueror. Enemy models with a wound characteristic of warrant 2 can't control objectives. All 3 of these are names from the old book, but Very cool new abilities. Chaos Esoterica, a Chaos Familiar. You can cast an extra spell once per battle. And if you do so, it has to be from the Lord of the Damned. It can be any spell you want, even when you don't know. Once per battle, at the start of the enemy hero phase, you can pick an enemy wizard within 24 of the bearer invisible to them. Until the end of the phase, each time that wizard attempts to cast a spell, they take D3 mortal wounds before casting rolls are made. If it's slayed by the mortal wounds, the casting attempt fails. Don't roll the dice. So just call somebody out and they die. And then Helm of Eldritch Command. When the bearer attempts to dispel on the spell, if the dispel roll is greater than the casting value of the endless spell, instead of it being dispelled, you can say that you'll seize control of it, so you can take control of an endless spell. If you do so, the bearer now controls the endless spell in the same manner as if they'd summoned it, and the model that summoned it does not control it. If it's later dispelled, and summoned again, the bearer does not control it. So basically, you can take control of like the runes for the Lumineth if you wanted to, like, and have the Lumineth every time they move nearby and take it in mortal wounds. There's a bunch of like cool things you can do there. Home Many Eyes, strike first. That's a classic. The Doombringer Blade. These are for your demon princes, by the way. At the start of the first battle round, after setup's complete but before the first turn begins, you can pick an enemy hero or enemy monster in the battlefield, and if you do so, add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by friendly units that target that unit. And the Realm Warper's Twist Rune. Once per battle in your hero phase, you can pick a terrain feature within 12. Roll a die for each model within 1 of the terrain feature. For each 6, that model's unit suffers a mortal wounds. In addition, until your next hero phase, that terrain feature blocks line of sight, and the same as a Wildwood. And then Spell Lords. Again, there's not 6 in here. Binding Damnation basically makes you strike last now. Cast on 7, range 12 for an enemy unit. Spite Tongue Curse is the same as in the old book. 3+ to cast, 3 mortal wounds. But if you don't cast it, you take 3 mortal wounds. Chaotic Conduit's new. Cast on 7, range 12. If you cast, pick a friendly Eye of the Gods unit and make an Eye of the Gods roll. It's handy. And then Aruna's Vigor's kind of new-ish. It's cast on 6, range 12. You pick a monster and you go to your top table, regardless of how many wounds you've suffered. Demonic Speed is a cast on 6, range 12. Again, all these are fairly easy to cast. If you cast it, pick a friendly Slaves Darkness unit that has a mount and is wholly within range invisible. Until the end of your next hero phase, you can declare a charge within 18 and roll 3d6 instead of 2d6. So go fast, strike fast, so make someone strike slow, go really fast, roll an Eye of the Gods, little Hadouken, but you hurt yourself if you don't get it off, and then top table for monsters. So it's a really kind of good toolbox lore of really easy to cast spells. Nothing like a banger, but a lot of like utility in there. Also, you don't necessarily need Ruinous Vigor anymore for certain reasons on other heroes, because a lot of the monsters don't have a damage table anymore. And then these are new Ensorcelled Banners. I love these. Any Chaos Chosen, Chaos Warriors, or Chaos Knights can take one of these. There's 2 undivided ones and then 4 marked specific ones. The Blasphemous Icons one. While this model is in the battlefield, subtract 1 from chanting rolls for prayers by priests that don't have the Chaos keyword. The Dread Banner is undivided only. Each time a unit rolls in the Eye of the Gods table, roll 2 dice instead of 1 and pick 1 to be used as your roll, because you only roll 1 for units, not heroes. Banner range is a Corrin one. Add 1 to wound rolls for max with your melee weapons. Blasted Cinder for Zeech. 4+ ward against missile attacks. The Eroding Icon. Make Rend worse for melee attacks wholly within 12 of this unit, which is a huge aura. And Banner of Screaming Flash, Slanesh only. Add 1 to the attacks characteristic of your unit's melee weapons if you charge in the same turn. The Corrin one's flat good on a big unit. I think that the Eroding Icon is actually the winner, though, for Nurgle yet again. Because it's everyone within 12 of this unit. Everyone wholly within 12 of that unit, which means if you have a big fat unit of Nurgle, like Chaos Warriors, they're affecting like pretty much your whole battle line. All right, the 6 different ones. So the Damned Legion is the host of the Everchosen. This is the big one, obviously, the big key one. When a host of the Everchosen unit that is Chaos Chosen, Chaos Knights, Chaos Warriors, or for Vanguard, you receives a rally command, you come back on a 4+ instead of a 6. In addition, you can pick an additional Ensorcelled Banner. So 2 banners and 4+ rallies. That's huge. Your Vanguard getting a 4+ rally? Holy crap. And you're chosen too, that's a big deal. That one's gonna be popular. Legion of the First Prince. Start of your hero phase, pick a Legion of the First Prince undivided unit and then pick one of the following marks. Corrin, Zeech, Nurgle, or Slanesh. That unit has the mark of Chaos until the start of your next hero phase, in addition to the undivided mark, because you get his favor. And then Infernal Servants, allied Bloodletters, Horrors of Zeech, Plague Bearers, and Demonettes benefit from the marks of Chaos keywords as if they had the Slaves Darkness keyword. So if you take allied demons into the army, which is super cool from the Demon book, and very thematic for a Bellicor army, they get to benefit from that table and then issue the commands and stuff as well, which is huge. Kabbalists get blasphemous rituals. Your heroes become wizards automatically. If the hero is already a wizard, it gets to cast an extra spell and knows an additional spell from the Lord of the Damned. In addition, if you carry out the Draw and Power heroic action with a Kabbalist hero, you can immediately carry out the same heroic action with another hero within 3 because they're like little cult cabal gets to do it together. Despoilers, the Favored and the Cursed. Add 2 to the wounds of your monsters. In addition, each Despoiler Demon Prince can be given a command trait in addition to your general, which can be used as if they were a general. Each command trait must be different. And then Ravagers, this is the one where everyone got to be the general like once per game. You would just choose who a general was. You can carry out the following heroic action with Ravagers heroes instead of any other heroic action you can carry out with that hero. Rally the Tribes. Pick a Chaos Marauders, Marauder Horseman, Cultist, or Dark Oath unit in your army that's been destroyed. If you do, replace them with half the number of models remaining, rounding up, and they set them up wholly within 12 of the hero and more than 9 from the enemy. And you can bring everybody back once. So, yeah, you could do a heroic action each turn to bring a unit back. It's not as good as summon new units, but it does let you bring your existing units back. And then Knights of the Empty Throne. Unmatched Conquerors, Knights of the Empty Throne units that have a mount can run and still charge in the same turn. And then Dread Lieutenant, when you pick the general for your army, if Archaon's not included in your army, you can pick a model and a friendly Vanguard unit to be your general. If you do so, that unit gains the leader battlefield role. In addition, that general issues in the rally command, and a friendly Vanguard unit receives it. One slain model can come back on a 5 instead of a 6. This general cannot be given a command trait as it's not a hero, though. All right, Path to Glory. It's all about the road of gaining Chaos Gifts, obviously, and trying to become a Demon Prince. And there's a Corrupting Ritual Battletome, and then we're into match play. All right, grand strategies. So let's talk about those. So Conquering the Realms is your big thing. Dominating Presence is your first one. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if there's at least one friendly Slaves to Darkness unit wholly within each quarter of the table field. Or quarter of the battlefield. That one, if you combine that with the Ravagers keyword, is probably going to be pretty easy because you can bring back Understrength units and just go hide them. Follow the Path to Glory. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if you roll the Dark Apotheosis in the Eye of the Gods table 1 or more times during the battle. Yeah, no, there's no, it's just not going to happen. You have to roll, if my grand strategy counts on rolling boxcars at some point, I'm not taking it. Bring Ruin to the Realms. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if you completed at least 4 battle tactics. And every battle tactic you completed this battle was from this table below. And then Master of Dark Rituals. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if there are any Slaves to Darkness endless spells in the battlefield that you set up. That one's not bad, because if you go last in the second battle round, you bring one on. Those 2, Dominating Presence and Master of a Dark Ritual, are probably the ones worth taking. Battle Tactics. So you'd have to complete 4 of these and do 1 of them every single turn to get your Bring the Ruin to the Realms. Enthrall to Chaos, pick an objective marker on the battlefield that's within 12 of any enemy units. You complete this battle tactic if there's no enemy units within 12 of it at the end of the turn. That's a big circle. You have to, and you have to start this, you have to start that circle with units on it and then kill them all. Yeah. Lust for Power, pick a friendly Slaves to Darkness hero that has the Eye of the Gods keyword. You complete this battle tactic if you roll in the Eye of the Gods table for that hero during this turn. Yeah, redeployment could just screw you out of that. That one, Lust for Power, you might be able to do if you know that you're going to kill something at the start of the round. The March to Ruin, pick a friendly Slaves to Darkness unit that includes a standard bearer with an ensorcelled banner that's not within enemy territory. Complete this battle's tactic if at the end of the turn the unit's wholly within enemy territory and within 3 of any other friendly units. That one's more likely to be able to be done because you just need to get in there and have a unit with them. Iconoclast, pick an enemy unit that's a priest or totem. You complete this battle tactic if that unit's destroyed at the end of the turn. So you have to have, your opponent has to have that in his army. And then Champion of Chaos, complete this battle tactic if by the end of the turn there are 3 or more friendly heroes within 3 of enemy heroes. That's pretty easy to do if you have the right group of heroes in your army list. And then run them down. You complete this battle tactic if at the end of your turn 3 or more Slaves of Darkness units made a charge in the same turn. So run them down, pretty easy to do. Champions of Chaos, pretty easy to do. March to Ruin, pretty easy to do. The other ones, maybe. So I don't love Bring Ruin to the Realms, but Dominating Presence and Master of the Dark Ritual seem like they're probably fairly easy to do. The core ones are probably still easier. All right, core battalions. You can take a Chaos Warband with either Unified Drop or Slayers. And it's a unit of Slaves to Darkness, units that aren't leader, Behemoths, or Vanguard, and a single leader. And then Overlords of Chaos. It's Unified or Expert, all at attack or all at defense. You have to have 3 Vanguard units at a minimum. So Yeah, Unified for the Chaos Warband feels like a pretty easy take. It's a behemoth and up to 8 units and a leader. All right, we're into units. War Scrolls. Archaon, you gained 5 wounds and your damage table got condensed. Your monster's claws got flat damage instead of variable, which is super cool. You got some minor adjustments to like your armor, which is now a ward save. And for every unmodified 6, people take mortal wounds within 3. You double down command abilities. This is a command ability for By My Will. Until the end of the phase, you can fight when you're slain. And Inspiring Presence can't be taken within 12 of him with his Crown of Domination. Ever Chosen is a 4+ Spell Shrug. The Eye of Ed Sheeran. On a 1 to 3, your opponent must take the... I don't get this one. I don't know why you would want to use it, to be honest. Once your battle at the start of your hero phase, if Archaon's in a Slaves to Darkness army, you can say he'll use the Eye of Ed Sheeran. If you do, roll a die. The dice roll replaces the priority roll for the next battle round. On a 1 to 3, your opponent must take the first turn. On a 4 to 6, you must take the first turn. The ability cannot be used while there is an enemy Archaon on the battlefield. So basically, you're just still randomly determining the battle round order, but you roll a single die instead of rolling against your opponent. I don't get it. I just don't. I mean, I guess they can't modify it that way. It just seems only situationally good. If it was 3+ choose the order, then I feel like it would be better. Yeah. And then you can pick a chaos keyword for him. Before you start receiving command points in the first turn, pick one of the following keywords for the battle. That's any of the 4. Slayer of Kings, each time when this unit fights, if the unmodified wound roll for 2 or more of its attacks or a 6, the hero's just killed because it's the best sword ever. And then 3-headed Titan, you lost range on Filth Spewer, but now it's on a 3+. You roll a die for every model in the unit up to 7. They take a mortal wound. Skull Gorger is now you get, if you roll a die for a unit within 3 or a model within 3. And if it's higher than their wounds characteristic, you slay them and you get that many wounds back as opposed to just like a flat number of wounds. And then Spell Eater still dispels an spell, but also does D3 mortal wounds to the person controlling it. So, I mean, he got 5 more wounds. His damage table got easier to like manage. He's still a lot of points. Where is he? Archaon the Everchosen? Is he on here? What page is he on? He's on... I can't see him. There he is. Archaon the Everchosen. He's 860 points. Be'lakor is 355. Is Archaon, I mean, cast 2, dispel 2. He's a War Master now, which means he can be taken in Blades of Khorne, Disciples of Tzeentch, Maggotkin of Nurgle, or Hedonists of Slaanesh, and he always counts as your Warlord in addition to your normal Warlord, which is cool. But, like, is he Nagash good? Maybe. He can just kill Nagash if, with his 4 attacks, he rolls a double 6 onto wound. Hits on 2s, and then he has to get double 6s on any of his wound rolls and just kill that guy. Demon Prince, all right, so this is the other new thing. They gained 2 wounds. Their range and their axe went up. They went up in attacks across the board. They gained a hit, but lost a wound on the sword. And then all the damage and rends and stuff stayed the same. You can up their move to 8, from 8 to 12 and fly if you give him wings. And then he's got his cool trophy rack if he doesn't take wings. There's actually a reason not to take it now. If this unit has a trophy rack, don't take battle shock tests for friendly units within 9. In addition, each time an enemy hero or monster is destroyed by this unit, in the same turn, increase the range of this ability by 3 because he pops another head on his trophy rack. He has a 6+ ward, Hellforged Sword. On a hit, 6 to hit, it's D3 mortal wounds, and the attack sequence ends. An Immortal Champion, he can do these 5 heroic actions. An Undivided one, he can choose to strike first, basically with demonic speed. And then Pledge of Skulls for Khorne until the end of the turn. Each time an enemy model is slain by wounds allocated by attacks made with this unit, heal a wound. Eldritch Architect for Tzeentch if it's the enemy hero phase. You can roll a dice each time a spell targets this unit on 2+, it has no effect. If it's your hero phase, you can attempt to cast a spell from Lord of the Damned, the same as a wizard. If this unit's already a wizard, this spell is in addition to any others that it attempts to cast. Eroding Miasma, so this is for Nurgle until the end of the turn. Word rolls can't be made within 3 of them. That's a pretty big deal. And then Ecstatic Carnage for Slaanesh until the end of the, if this unit makes a charge move this turn, add 1 to its attacks for its melee weapons. So basically he gets different flavors based on his mark. Vanguard, they gained a bunch of stuff, extra attacks in their weapons and extra damage. They're damage 2 now. The Fell Spear is a 3+ to wound now, -2 AP, and then -2 AP on the Demon Forge Blade, and -1 AP on the Tearing Flanks on the mounts. And they gained Warp Steel Shield now is a 4+ ward against mortal wounds, as opposed to being a cancellation for spells. Impaling Charge, Demon Bound, and Relentless Killer is all basically the same. So really good. Offense on them went up immensely. They can still fight twice potentially if they want a Relentless Killer. Be'lakor, basically the same as he was in his update book, but his damage track got reduced, so he gets wounded far more slowly. Eternus is our brand new character. He's Be'lakor's like Marshall, basically, for the Legions of Chaos. 10-inch move, 9 wounds, bravery 9, 3+ save. His Deathglaive's got 5 attacks, 3s and 3s -2 damage. His Skullflail 6 attacks, 3s and 3s -1 damage, and then the Tearing Fangs is the same as Vanguard's. For Dracocephalus, his horse. Blade of the First Prince, the strike first effect applies to this unit, makes a charge move in the same turn. He has a network of spies at the end of the start, the start of the hero phase. If this unit's within one of any friendly Chaos Legionnaires, you gain an additional command point. And then Veins of Black Lightning. At the end of your movement phase, if this unit's been slain, roll 2d6 and add 1 to the roll of Be'lakor's in your army and on the battlefield. On an 8+, you can set this unit up anywhere in the battlefield more than 9 from all enemy units, with all its wounds removed. So every time this guy dies, he can come back on an 8+, as long as Be'lakor's still alive. He's pretty cool. He's Eternus, man. He doesn't die. Gaunt Summoner and Gaunt Summoner on disc are the same as in the Demon book, so or the Tzeentch book, so I'm not going to go over them again. The Chaos Lord got a new sculpt in plastic, so he gained a new ability with a lance and also a 3+ save. The lance basically gives him the ability to add a damage and a render on the charge, kind of like the Chaos Knights have. Otherwise, he's mostly the same as his old profile. Knights of Chaos has changed for anyone that had it. You get strike first when you charge in the same turn. In addition, if this unit has made a charge move in the same turn, then you can pick a friendly Chaos Knight, Chaos Chariot, or Chaos Gorebeast unit, wholly within 12 after they've fought, and they can fight immediately. So you can chain activate anyone with Knights of Chaos right afterwards, which is actually a really cool, useful ability. You can lead the charge in, go first, then immediately go afterwards. That's huge. And because of the strike first effect, right, on the charge, it means that you go and then they go. So you get to double attack with a unit when you charge during that turn. All right, the Manticores, look, no damage table on either of these. That's a huge deal. Still with 12 wounds. Bravery went up on the Chaos Lord. His Rend went up on his Demon Blade and damage on his Chaos Flail. The Horned Fangs and Claws now have a flat 2+ to wound roll because they don't degrade because there's no damage table there. His shield is optional now. He gets a 3+ armor save and a 5+ mortal wound shark if he takes it. Otherwise, his save stays at 4+. And then Iron-Willed Overlord. In this, if this unit issues the redeploy command, you can reroll the dice to determine the distance, which is cool. All the other rules are basically the same as previous War Scroll. Sorcerer Lord, same thing, no table. His Oracular Visions, like all the Chaos Sorcerers now, are a 6+ ward save within 12 as opposed to reroll saves, because all the reroll save abilities in this game are gone. And then Winds of Chaos casts on 8 now and does 2 mortal wounds for each 6 that you roll, and 1 mortal wound for each 5 that you roll, equal number of models in the unit. So Winds of Chaos is pretty great. It's 18-inch within range. It's a really big unit shredder, potentially. And then the Chaos Lord Karkadrak, he lost his built-in healing on the Rune Axe, which is kind of a pain, but he gained a to hit on the Tearing Horns and Claws, Rend up on his Battle Axe and Demon Bound Blade, and then he can Knights of Chaos and chain his charges just like the Footlord can. Now the Chaos Lord on foot gained a retinue rule. I love this ability because I always had a hard time keeping mine alive. This is going to do a big service to this model that I really like, and I'm excited to play with it. At the start of the first battle round, before determining who has the first turn, pick a friendly Chaos Warriors or Chaos Chosen unit, and they're his retinue. The Warlord's retinue is before you allocate a wound or mortal wound to this unit on a 2+ or 3+ allocated to the retinue instead. And then Glory in Battle, he has basically the foot version of Knights of Chaos. When he charges, or sorry, after this unit's fought in combat for the first time, if its retinue hasn't fought and is within 3 of him, it was within 3 of the enemy and wholly within 12 of him, they can power in and fight immediately. So he doesn't get the strike first thing that would drag him in immediately, but he can chain activate with his retinue to fight right afterwards. So he can lead a unit basically, be protected by them, and then fight in order. Chaos Sorcerer Lord's pretty much the same. Oracular Visions changes like the mounted one. Demonic Power, cast on 6, range 18. Add 1 to hit and wound rolls for attacks with melee weapons till the start of your next hero phase. And then you got the new Exalted Hero Sculpt. This was the classic sculpt before, but they got a new model for it, which is pretty cool. got a wound, gained a rune-etched blade. So 4 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 2 damage, and then Axe of the Dark Champion, or 8 attacks, 4s and 4s, -1, 2 damage. So basically you can have lots of attacks that hit less or fewer attacks that hit more reliably, but they all do 2 damage. So if you just take Axe of the Dark Champion and then throw, oh, I don't know, let's say Demonic Power on him for +1/+1, he's obviously the better choice. But if he's got the blade, he gets a 3+ save and a 4+ or 5+ mortal wound shrug because he's carrying a shield instead. Dark Blessing, you can roll for him on the Eye of the Gods immediately when you deploy him. And then Glory Seeker, if he's within 3 of enemy heroes or monsters not engaged, then he gets +1 to his attacks. It's not when he targets them anymore, it's just if he's within 3, he gets +1 to his attack characteristic for his melee weapons. Myrmidon lost Pit Marshal for the cultists, and lost an attack too, but gained a damage. He had 8 attacks in his spear before, but now he's damaged 2, so it basically balances out the potential damage he can do. And then the new unit, the Theridons, they're in the army box. These guys are pretty cool. I do like the miniatures a lot. They're kind of like your Chaos Ogres. They have Gorian Falchions, 2 attacks, 3s and 3s. 3 attacks, 3s and 3s at 2-inch range, -1, 2 damage. And the Great Axes are basically Iron Guts, 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, -2, 3 damage. Really cool. If they have the Standard Bearer, they get +1 Bravery. Musicians can add 1 to charge rolls. Champion gets extra attack. If you have the Falchion and Shield, you get a 4+ save though, instead of 5. I don't know, I think you just still, but they have 5 wounds each. And the Berserk Raid, add 1 to wound rolls made by melee weapons. If any wounds or mortal wounds are allocated them in the same phase. So you actually don't want them to go first. And then Unleash Savagery. Once per battle, when this unit's picked a fight, you can say they'll unleash their savagery. If you do so, add 1 to their attack characteristic for their melee weapons. However, this unit cannot receive Inspiring Presence commands because they're just too busy fighting. So they're an all kill or no filler like damage unit. War Shrine's basically the same. It gains some bravery and some wounds. It's damage track condensed. It's still 3+ prayers to put a bunch of effects out. So like have number of models that flee from battle shock, for undivided units. +1 to charge rolls for Corn units. Zinch units can be -1 to wound for attacks that target them. Seeping Blades, +1 to wound rolls for melee attacks for Nurgle. And then Slanesh is charge 36 instead of 2d6. You can charge inside 18. So still Behemoth, still pretty tough. This still passes out a 6+ ward to everybody within its protection range, so 18-inch range for a shrug. And you don't get that from your heroes anymore like you used to, so it might be worth it. Chariots gained some abilities. They basically core stats stayed the same. They are not hitting as well with their Great Blade. Once per battle, they can run and still charge, but don't spare the lash. And then Swift Death. After this unit makes a charge move, you can pick an enemy unit within 1 of this unit and roll a number of dice equal to the charge roll. So it gets an Ogre charge. On a 5+, they take a mortal wound for your the unmodified charge roll. Gorby's Chariot got a cool new ability. Got more attacks. So it's a flat 6 attacks for the Warflail now instead of rolling a d6. Actually, that's the same on the Chariot up top. And went down to hit on the Great Blade and up to hit on the Warflail. But after it fights, at the end of your combat phase, it can make a normal move ignoring units as if it could fly. And then everything it passed over on a 3+ takes d6 mortal wounds because the Gore Beast just goes crazy and like rampages through. I really like that ability. It makes it different enough now from the Chaos Chariot than just the thing pulling it. Because the thing pulling it wasn't a big enough difference. It actually acts differently now. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on the Chieftains and the Cultist units. They're still okay. These are the big stars here. The new Chaos Chosen. Holy. They're amazing. 3 wounds each. Movement 5. 3+ save. Bravery 8. Standard Bearer gives you +1 Bravery. The Musician lets you add 1 to charge rolls. The Champion gets extra attack. 3 attacks each. 3s and 3s. -1, 2 damage. 2-inch reach. Oh my god. Soul Splitter. Unmodified hit roll is 6. They take a mortal wound on top of their normal damage. On top of their damage 2 hits. Herald's Ruination, once per battle in the combat phase, you can fight again at strike last, and then Rewards of Chaos, you get to roll immediately on the Eye of the Gods table for them, and they can be battle line. No big deal. 5 of them are 240 points, but only if you take Host the Ever-Chosen, they battle line. And the models are amazing. I'm pumped to paint mine. They are super cool, and they 4+ rally to come back to life. They're like paladins that don't move super slow in a Stormcast army, and they can rally on 4s in the army that they're battle line for. Yeah, they're definitely getting taken at Ever-Chosen army for me. Chaos Bonds are pretty much the same as they used to be. I didn't see anything too drastically different. Chaos Warriors changed quite a bit. Still 3+ saves now instead of 4+ saves, actually. They're 2 wounds. Champion gets extra attack, +1 bravery, +1 charge rolls for musician. Bringer of Desolation, you're +1 into attack characteristic of this unit's melee weapons while it's within 12 an objective or wholly within enemy territory. Wholly within 12 an objective you don't control or wholly within enemy territory. So they get +1 attacks when they're basically on your half of the table. And the rune shields give a 5+ against mortal wounds. And you can choose either Murderous Weapon or Ensorcelled Halberds. But either way, they always have shields. So don't worry what your miniatures have now. They're 2 wounds, 3+ save, bravery 7. And we're getting new models for them. Chaos Knights, 3 wounds, 3+ save as well. Everybody's saves went up. Curse Lances are 3 attacks, 4s and 3s -1, 1 damage. But of course, you get the Impaling Charge to add to your Rend and damage characteristics. Your damage to Rend 2. And you can always out attack to hit better. Chaos Rune Shields, 5+ ward against mortal wounds. Riders of Doom. If you attack with the lance, instead of using the range characteristic for that attack, you can target an enemy unit that's within 1/2 inch of another model. So they can fight. They get the Galician Veterans ability where they fight through their friends. And the Musician, if you have a Hornblower, you can change a charge dice to a 4 when you make a charge. One of your dice to a 4. Marauder Horse are basically the same. Chaos Marauders are basically the same. 4s and 4s for their attacks. The Flails are 3s and 4s with 2 attacks. +1 to hit if they charge in the same turn. The Darkwood Shields give you a 5+ save instead of a 6. Mutalith gains some wounds. He had his damage profile condensed again. His Orb Mutation, basically he can mute and regenerate D3 in every hero phase. In your hero phase, you can pick out an enemy unit within 18 of the unit, roll a dice, and look up the corresponding effect on the table. If this unit's within none of a Tzeentch Wizard, you can roll 2 instead of 1 and pick up either to look up. So either -1 bravery to the unit for the rest of the battle, because you look at them, Trog Brain, subtract 1 from run rolls made by that unit, get to mutation. Subtract 1 from the move. They take D3 mortal wounds, take D6 mortal wounds, or spawn change D6 mortal wounds. And once these mortal wounds have been allocated, if any models were slain, set up a Tzeentch Chaos spawn within 3 of them, and then heal D3 wounds allocated to this model. The Soul Grinder, I don't know why it's still in here. Got lots of wounds, 18, 4+ save. Harvester Cannon, 16-inch range, 4s and 3s -1, 1 damage. Starts with 6 attacks, and then 1 attack from the Phlegm Bombardment, 4s and 4s -2, 3 damage. Condensed its damage table as well. Hellforged Claw, if you hit with it, does a 6 hit, does D6 mortal wounds in the attack sequence end. So basically its damage characteristic becomes mortal wounds. And can run and still charge. Slaughter Brute, 14 wounds, 4+ save, bravery 7. Again, condensed damage table. When you select this unit to be part of your army, you can choose a Slaves to Darkness hero or a Khorne Mortal hero in your army to be its master. And you can receive the following commands if they're issued by its master. Leave none alive. You can use this command ability at the start of the combat phase. The unit that issues the command must be this unit's master, and that unit receives the command must be this unit. Until the end of that phase, use the top row of this unit's damage table, regardless of how many wounds it suffered. So it goes back to full, basically. So 10-inch move, 8 attacks, and 1+ Mighty Jaws rolled a wound. And then let loose the chains. You can do a 3d6 charge at 18 inches or Unbridled Ferocity. After the end of a charge at the end of the combat phase, if it's within 3 of the enemy and more than 12 from its master, pick an enemy unit within 3 and roll a die, and a 2+, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, and this unit suffers a mortal wound. Centurion Marshal. He's basically the same with his like drag and attack. And then all these guys haven't changed for the most part. If they had an ability to reroll their saves, they gained armor or gained a ward. And for the most part, they're still fixed the unit size of what came in the box. So I didn't notice really anything different with these guys. They're all weird unit sizes. They all basically fulfill different kind of like quasi-different roles, but they're basically just Marauders, right? I think the ones that are still probably the most attractive are the higher save ones, like the Iron Golems and the Spire Tyrants, because they're a little bit more like light Chaos Warriors, like a 4+ save. Yeah, and it's like 9 models in the unit, 8 models in the unit. 1 must be a Dominar. The Ogroid Breacher has 3 wounds, so you get 11 wounds in this unit, and if they don't move, they get +1 save, so 3+ armor. Right? They have an 8-inch shooting attack, 4s and 4s, and Legion weapons, 2 attacks each of 4s and 4s. They're cheap battle line. They can stand around and hold zones, and then your fighting battle line goes out and fight. Gained a little bit of stuff on the Raptorix. Crazed Flock, +1 attacks when they charge. And don't make Battle Strike tested within 3 inches of friendly monster now. They gained a save. These used to have 7+ saves, now they have 6+ saves. Same with the Furies. They can still run away when they are chosen to fight. The Mind Sphere of Stealer's Firing still lost its aura of -2 bravery and gained attacks and damage though, but it lost its tail attack, so it kind of flattened it out into the Shredding Claws. Can still dominate the mind. The Fulmurite Crusher lost bravery down to 6. He can now add +1 to his damage if the units, if it's within one of the terrain features, because it picks up a rock and hits you with it. And then Cursed Destroyers basically is the Monstrous Rampage, even though he's not a monster, to smash to rubble a piece of terrain. Gain your ward save now for Oracular Visions on Xerxia, because the rule changed for that. 5+ ward against mortal wounds for Kagha's Ravagers. They're basically the same. The Eightfold Doom Side Jewel casts on 5, range of 6. Keep track of the number of models slain within 12 with this endless spell. At the end of each turn, roll a dice for each model that was slain within 12. For each 3+, the player whose turn it is must pick a friendly Slave's Darkness wholly within 18 of this endless spell. Add 1 of the attacks characteristic of your weapon. So basically it sucks up casualties and turns them into bonus attacks during the next phase. The Realm Scourge Rupture casts on 7, range of 9. It's predatory and can move 9 and flies. After the spell's moved, roll a dice for each unit that any models it passed across, and for each other unit within 1 of it at the end of its moves. On 2+, to dig deep through mortal wounds, and its move characteristic is halved until the end of the battle round. And then the Darkfire Demon Rift casts on 7, range of 9. It's predatory and can move up to 9 and fly. Billowing Energies. After this endless spell is moved, roll a dice for each unit that's been passed across, and each other unit within 1 at the end of the move. On a 2+, unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. And then Fueled by Sorcery, add 1 of the number of mortal wounds caused by this endless spell for each other endless spell within 12 of it after it's moved, because it sucks up the other endless spells and gets more powerful. And then we're into troops and battle line and costs. So again, going through all the different cultist units, they're all roughly 100 points, and you can see the 100-point ones are the ones with the most wounds in them for the most part. So like the Untame Beasts are 90, but it's the unit size, right? The Tarantulas Brood have 13 models in it for 100 points. Fang has 10. Iron Golems have 8, but one of them has 3 wounds, so it's basically 11 wounds for 100 points. They're great because they're battle line now. Like there's the big cool tweaks in here as far as point costs and abilities. The Chaos Knights are actually really cool with a 3+ save now. Chaos Warriors are fantastic for 220 for 10. That's 22 points each for a 2-wound, 3+ save, really decent fighter that has tons of augment abilities. You make them a retinue for a Chaos Lord, and they can like chain activate. Same with the Chaos Knights with like a Karkadrak Lord. Bunch of tie-togethers. The problem is if you want to do a single drop using the rules in here, you're probably not going to have more than 1 hero, right? Because you can have 8 units, a behemoth, and a character. So I guess you could take 2 Chaos Warbands and try and tie it on a couple of heroes. I really like that they took the damage tables off the Mana Cores because they weren't getting used at all, and having them never degrade kind of puts them in the realm of the Karkadrak, where he was just like almost decidedly better, even though he was a smaller, cheaper miniature. And the new Ogroids are cool too. There's a lot in this book now that's actually kind of vying for my attention, and I think that's the thing I like the most about it. Because I'm not forced to take Chaos Warriors or Marauders as battle line, or like to take a gimmick hero that makes something else battle line, for 300 points, actually, if I want to just go cheap and have them stand around and push buttons, for 240 points, I could take, what's the cheapest at 80? Unmade. I could have 27 unmade models, stand on my home base objectives, and then just insert another 1,760 points worth of stuff that I like. And that could just be all, I mean, it doesn't lead into the Galician Veterans thing, but Chaos Chosen, if I take Ever Chosen, they're Galician Veterans, all of us, actually, they have 3 wounds. So maybe they're not. I can't remember what the wound count for Galician Veterans is. It might not work for them, but Chaos Warriors definitely can be. For 240 points. 220 points for 10 Chaos Warriors. Have them be Galician Veterans. Have them all be able to fight within a ½ inch of each other. And then you make them... I'd make mine Undivided probably, because I like the look of my Undivided army. But I could just cherry pick a mark that I like, and then have that mark be whatever role I want them to do. Probably... +1 attack is cool. It's probably just going to be Mark and Nurgle. I'll probably make them all Mark and Nurgle and be -1 to wound against melee attacks, and then give them that exploding 3+. The Mark and Nurgle is incredibly attractive at this point. Yeah, they've aggressively priced all the heroes, right? Demon Prince is 195, which is relatively cheap. The Karkadrak Lord's only 220. Demonic Mount's 170. Chaos Lord's 115. It's very aggressively priced. Even Be'lakor at 335. 270, 265 for the Mana Core characters. Chosen at 240. Foamroid Crusher's only 100. Furies are 90. Garby's Chariots are 115, up to 3 in a unit. Therodons are only 190 for 3. The Sphinx is only 95 points now. And Vanguard are still 290, but they can be battle line if you have a Host of the Everchosen or into Knights of the Empty Throne. Doomsage is 40, Dark Oath Demon Rift is 80, and the Realm Scourge Rupture is 60. Beasts of Chaos, Blades of Khorne, Disciples of Tzeentch, Magakin, and Hedonites can all be allies. So you can take the demons through all those books, basically. Very cool. I'm excited. It feels like it is... This feels more like a new book. So what I'm excited about with this book is, for the first time in a while, it feels like less just kind of adding grad strategies and battle tactics to a book and actually retooling what it should feel like to play it. And I think the most work was done with units people weren't using, like those heroes on mana cores, to like look at the Chaos Warrior from the ground up and go, what makes this guy good? Let's just flatten his abilities. So it doesn't matter what units or what miniatures you have, you can make a good unit out of it, and then make the marks worth taking. I like there's tons of heroic actions that make them feel like they're actually calling on the Dark Gods. The Eye of the Gods table, it feels way less random and actually beneficial. Yeah, I'm excited. It's funny, I don't know how this is going to do on the battlefield yet, because all of a sudden I have all these options open to me, and there's like a bunch of different lists I could make that might be viable that I now want to try out. And that's where my brain goes to. My brain goes to like a bunch of different places. Like if I take cheap battle line, if I go into Everchosen and then have like a bunch of like Chaos Warriors and Chosen be battle line, do I want to try out the Therodons as like a second wave shock unit? I'm definitely going to take like cheap units of battle line, battle line cultists now to hold my home objectives. I used to summon them with Ravagers, but now they're actually just worth taking because they can fill my battle line choices if I want them to as well. There's a bunch of new sort of like head scratching to go through in this that I'm pretty excited about. So I would say, just from like hey, we took a really long look at the last book and didn't like where the Chaos Army was going, let's retool it. Good job, Games Workshop. This is a big amount of work being sunk into the book to try and make it feel and play differently. And I think it accomplishes that. And as far as 3rd edition books go, this one feels like, I don't know if it's a win yet, like game-wise or rule-wise, but it definitely opened up my ability to pick models I like and build an army around them and not have them feel like vestigial. Like the cultists, because you couldn't take them as battle line, it was like, why would I bother if I spend points on things that I can like synergize with my army? But now they're actually battle line, there's a reason to take them. They're fulfilling the role of being like this like scummy chaos worshipping sort of rabble that fall around Archaon's horde. It feels thematic, and also I can mix them in if I like the models, and regardless of the fact they're just kind of like 9 to 10 wounds worth of cheap fodder that can stand around. So there you go. There's my GMG review of the Slaves to Darkness Battletome. Big thanks to Games Workshop for the complimentary advanced copy to review. Next time I'm Ash. Happy gaming. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that video. There are tons of other games already recorded for you to watch. Click over to my channel page if you haven't already, and have a look through the dozens of playlists full of videos. I guarantee you'll discover a game you haven't seen played before. I put out new videos 7 days a week, and every day is themed to a different genre as I continue to explore the wider world of gaming. Of course, none of that's possible without you, the viewer, so click a like and subscribe if you'd like to stay on top of what's happening here daily. My 2 kids and I are massively grateful to be able to have the flexibility of this job so I can always maximize my time with them. If you want to support me continuing to put out this content, it's only possible because of my amazing backers on Patreon who support the studio, equipment, and model cost, as well as being how I make the bulk of my living. You can also help out by buying a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, a measuring gauge or widget from Deathray Designs, or buying one of my games and supplements like Last Days, Gamma Wolves, and Blaster. As a way of showing my appreciation, patrons get early access to new games and supplements that I write throughout the course of the year. Huge thanks for watching, it really does help out, and happy gaming.